30 years ago, Libya was on the brink of a financial revolution. A country rich in oil reserves, Libya's leader, Muammar Gaddafi, had a bold vision to create a unified African currency that could challenge the dominance of the US dollar and the euro. This is the story of how that dream led to war, death, and destruction in Libya. Welcome to The Money Trail, where we follow the money, revealing the untold stories of hidden financial histories. In this episode, we explore the fascinating tale of Libya's gold dinar, a currency that may have caused a war. Let's begin with some context. Libya, a country in North Africa, has a population of approximately 6.8 million people. Rich in natural resources, including oil and gas, Libya has been a key player in the global energy market for decades. However, its financial system was unique, even among African nations. In 1969, Gaddafi overthrew the monarchy and established a political system called the Jamahiriya, or State of the Masses. The Jamahiriya was a form of direct democracy where people were encouraged to participate in local councils, known as People's Congresses, to make decisions about their communities. Under this system, Libya's central bank had significant autonomy from the government, and the country maintained a stable currency, the Libyan dinar. The Libyan dinar was introduced in 1971, replacing the Libyan pound at a rate of 1,001. With a strong oil sector driving economic growth, the Libyan dinar became one of the most stable currencies in Africa. However, Gaddafi had bigger plans for his country's currency. In 2009, he proposed creating a unified African gold dinar, which would be backed by gold reserves from several African countries. The goal was to create a more equitable financial system that could reduce the dependence of African nations on Western currencies and institutions. But these plans never came to fruition. Instead, Libya plunged into chaos, leading to a brutal civil war that continues to this day. In the next section, we'll explore how Gaddafi's vision for a unified African gold dinar may have contributed to his downfall. Stay tuned to The Money Trail. In the early 2000s, Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi proposed a bold plan to create a unified gold dinar currency for African nations, which he believed could challenge the Western financial system's dominance. This ambitious proposal sought to establish a pan-African monetary union and reduce the dependence of African countries on Western currencies and institutions. Gaddafi's vision was rooted in Libya's significant gold reserves, estimated at around 14.4 tons during that time. By pooling gold resources from participating African nations, Gaddafi aimed to create a new currency backed by tangible assets, unlike the fiat currencies of Western powers. The gold dinar would have been used for trade between member countries and could potentially compete with established global reserve currencies like the US dollar or the euro. The proposed benefits of the gold dinar were manifold. It could have reduced the reliance on Western financial systems, provided greater autonomy for African nations in managing their economies, and potentially offered a more stable alternative to currencies plagued by inflation or manipulation. Moreover, it aligned with Gaddafi's pan-Africanist ideology, fostering unity among the diverse nations of the continent. However, not everyone welcomed this proposal. Western powers, particularly the United States and its European allies, viewed Gaddafi's plan with suspicion and apprehension. The potential for a gold dinar to disrupt established financial systems could have threatened their influence over global markets and international trade. As a result, these powers exerted pressure on Libya and other African nations to abandon the project. The tension between Gaddafi's aspirations for an autonomous African financial system and Western resistance to such efforts might have contributed to the deteriorating relationship between Libya and its international partners. As we delve deeper into this intricate web of financial interests, stay tuned to The Money Trail to discover how these tensions could have played a role in the events that ultimately led to Libya's descent into chaos and conflict. As Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi began to advocate for a gold dinar-based African financial system, Western powers with significant geopolitical interests in Libya grew uneasy. The United States and its allies had long enjoyed their influence over the oil-rich North African nation, but Gaddafi's plan threatened the status quo. In 2011, just as Gaddafi started to take concrete steps towards implementing his gold dinar vision, tensions between Libya and the West escalated. France, Italy, and the United Kingdom, countries heavily invested in Libyan oil and banking sectors, led a coalition that backed rebel forces against Gaddafi's regime. Gaddafi's gold dinar plan would have created an independent financial system outside Western control, potentially undermining the US dollar's dominance as the world's primary reserve currency. This new monetary order threatened trillions of dollars in economic interests and could have weakened the power of influential financial institutions like the Federal Reserve and the International Monetary Fund. Moreover, Gaddafi's ambition to unite African nations under a single currency echoed similar efforts by other regional powers, such as Saddam Hussein with his dinar. This historical parallel fueled Western suspicions about Libya's true intentions and the potential risks of an economically empowered North Africa. Meanwhile, China and Russia, two countries that maintained positive relationships with Gaddafi, abstained from supporting the UN resolution that authorized military intervention in Libya. Their reluctance to interfere may have been motivated by their own geopolitical interests, as both nations stood to gain from a strengthened Libyan economy and an expanded foothold in Africa. As the money trail continues to unravel the complex web of financial intrigue surrounding Libya's descent into conflict, it becomes clear that international reactions to Gaddafi's gold dinar plan played a significant role in shaping this volatile geopolitical landscape. The fallout from these tensions remains evident today, as the region struggles to recover from the chaos and destruction left in the wake of Western intervention. Stay tuned for our next episode, where we will further explore how Gaddafi's ambitious financial plans collided with established global powers, ultimately sparking a chain of events that would change Libya and the African continent forever. As we delve deeper into Libya's Gold Dinar project, it's crucial to examine the role of covert operations and propaganda in shaping the narrative around Muammar Gaddafi and his ambitious financial plans. In the early 2000s, Gaddafi proposed a gold-backed currency for African nations, aiming to challenge the dominance of the US dollar in international trade. This idea gained traction, with countries like Mali expressing interest in joining the Gold Dinar alliance. However, this potential financial shift did not sit well with established global powers. At the time, a little-known division within the US government, the Pentagon's Office of Military Information Support Operations, began developing plans to undermine Gaddafi's regime. According to classified documents later released by WikiLeaks, MISO sought to exploit Libyan fears of Gaddafi's growing military strength and expand its influence in Africa. Meanwhile, Western media outlets ramped up their portrayal of Gaddafi as a brutal dictator, often overlooking his efforts to improve the lives of ordinary Libyans through free healthcare and education. The anti-Gaddafi rhetoric intensified, painting him as an irrational tyrant who squandered the nation's oil wealth on frivolous projects like his great man-made river, which brought water from beneath the Sahara to the coastal cities. Amidst this backdrop, it's essential to consider the impact of NATO's intervention in 2011. France, the UK, and the US led a coalition that enforced a no-fly zone over Libya, claiming humanitarian concerns as justification. However, some experts argue that these powers had more than altruistic motives. For instance, French President Nicolas Sarkozy faced criticism at home for his close ties to Gaddafi, who had financed his 2007 election campaign. By aligning himself with the anti-Gaddafi forces, Sarkozy could deflect attention from these allegations and strengthen France's position in North Africa. Similarly, British Prime Minister David Cameron saw an opportunity to boost the UK's global standing by leading the charge against a reviled dictator. By toppling Gaddafi, the UK could secure access to Libya's abundant oil reserves, further bolstering its economy. As these geopolitical machinations unfolded, it became clear that the fate of Gaddafi and his Gold Dinar project were inextricably linked. The question remains, if the West had allowed Gaddafi's financial ambitions to come to fruition, might Libya have avoided the chaos and destruction that followed? Join us next time as we continue unraveling the complex web of financial interests and covert operations that engulfed Libya, forever altering its destiny. 2011 marked a critical juncture in Libya's history. The country was on the brink of civil war, a conflict that would claim thousands of lives and leave its mark on the nation for years to come. While the world watched Colonel Gaddafi's brutal crackdown on protesters, many questioned what lay behind the uprising. Some argue that the roots of this conflict can be traced back to Libya's ambitious plan to introduce a new gold-backed currency, the dinar. In 2010, Gaddafi proposed the creation of a single African currency, the gold dinar, which would challenge the dominance of the US dollar and the euro in global trade. This bold move threatened Western financial interests, as it could have significantly reduced their control over oil prices and international transactions. Key players like France, with significant commercial investments in Africa, saw Gaddafi's plan as a direct threat to their economic influence on the continent. Sarkozy's government reportedly lobbied for military intervention against Libya under the guise of protecting human rights. The UK, too, had its own reasons to support regime change in Libya, given BP's stalled $900 million exploration deal with Gaddafi's administration. As the Arab Spring swept across North Africa and the Middle East, Western powers saw an opportunity to intervene in Libya. With France and Britain taking the lead, a coalition of NATO forces launched a military campaign under the banner of Operation Unified Protector. While the stated objective was to protect civilians, critics argued that the real motivation was to remove Gaddafi from power and quash the Gold Dinar project. The ensuing civil war resulted in widespread devastation and left Libya divided among various factions vying for control. The country has yet to recover from this chaos, with ongoing political instability and a struggling economy. As we continue our investigation into Libya's Gold Dinar, we cannot ignore the possibility that financial interests played a significant role in the 2011 civil war. In our next segment, we will explore the aftermath of Gaddafi's fall and the fate of his ambitious monetary plan. Could the Gold Dinar have provided an alternative path for Libya, one free from foreign influence and economic dependence? Join us as we delve deeper into this complex tale of financial intrigue and covert operations that forever changed the destiny of a nation. The Libyan Civil War of Two. Transitioning from our previous discussion on Libya's Gold Dinar and its potential impact, let's broaden our perspective to examine other nations that have attempted to challenge the Western-dominated global financial system. This will help contextualize Libya's ambitions while shedding light on the intricate web of international finance and politics. One notable example is the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, which has been making significant strides towards monetary integration since its inception in 1967. The organization, comprising 10 member states, has been working on initiatives such as the ASEAN Single Window, a regional initiative aimed at streamlining and simplifying customs procedures, and the Asian Clearing Union, an arrangement for settling international transactions among member central banks. Although these efforts have yet to pose a direct threat to the global financial status quo, they represent a growing trend of regionalization that could eventually lead to more substantial challenges down the line. Another intriguing case is the proposed Eurasian Economic Union, championed by Russia and its allies as an alternative to Western-led economic blocs like the European Union and NAFTA. The EAEU, established in 2015, aims to create a single market for goods, services, labor, and capital among member states, which include Armenia, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and Russia. While still in its infancy, the Union has already made some progress towards economic integration, with ambitions of extending its reach beyond its current borders. However, no comparison to Libya's gold dinar plan would be complete without mentioning Iran's efforts to circumvent Western sanctions through alternative financial systems. In response to crippling economic restrictions imposed by the United States and its allies, Iran has developed a network of non-dollar payment mechanisms and barter arrangements with countries like China, India, and Turkey. These efforts have allowed Tehran to maintain some level of economic activity despite being cut off from the global financial system. These examples illustrate that Libya's ambitions were by no means unique. Countries around the world have been exploring alternatives to the Western-dominated global financial system, albeit with varying degrees of success. The question remains, what can we learn from these cases, and how do they help us understand the complex dynamics at play in Libya's ongoing civil war? Stay tuned as we continue our investigation into the intriguing world of international finance and politics, where monetary ambitions can have far-reaching consequences, shaping the destinies of nations. The Money Trail has traced a complex journey from the aspirations of a revolutionary leader to the devastating realities of war. Libya's experiment with the gold dinar is indeed a cautionary tale that offers invaluable lessons for any future attempts to reform the global financial order. Firstly, it's clear that ambitions as lofty as Gaddafi's vision for a unified African currency must be grounded in practical realities and broad consensus. The African Union, representing all 55 member states, should lead such initiatives with transparency and inclusivity to avoid suspicion and resistance from powerful global players. Secondly, wealth can breed enemies just as quickly as it builds friends. Gaddafi's oil-funded fortune made him a target for those who saw his gold dinar plan as a threat to their vested interests. Any future proposals aiming to disrupt the status quo must anticipate and mitigate potential backlash through diplomatic channels and international cooperation. Lastly, while economic sovereignty is an essential right of every nation, it cannot come at the expense of global stability. As we've seen in Libya, financial upheaval can spill over into social unrest, armed conflict, and humanitarian crises. Therefore, reforms aimed at transforming the international monetary system should prioritize gradual change, ensuring continuity and predictability to prevent unnecessary shocks. In conclusion, Libya's gold dinar saga serves as a stark reminder of the intricate web of politics and finance that underpins our interconnected world. The quest for monetary independence can be fraught with danger, but it also presents opportunities for growth, collaboration, and innovation. As we continue to navigate this complex landscape, let us remember the lessons from Libya and strive for a global financial order that is fair, stable, and responsive to the needs of all nations. Thank you for joining The Money Trail on this investigative journey. We hope you'll join us again as we uncover more hidden stories where money meets history. Until then, stay informed, keep questioning, and never stop exploring the labyrinth of international finance and politics.